There are over 720 Pokemon in the Pokemon universe, and of those 720, there are only 2 Pokemon that are able to breed but are unobtainable by breeding: Ditto and Manaphy. Now, Ditto isn't limited to one of its kind, and therefore you can catch many more of them in the wild. However, Manaphy is extremely rare and is only obtainable through events. And while it does have the capability of breeding with Ditto, the offspring is an entirely different Pokemon species. Why is that? Today we try and figure out the answer. What's going on, guys? HybridHero here. Valentine's Day is upon us. Love is in the air, and that love tends to turn into some baby making. A lot of baby making on Valentine's Day, and this may be the case for Pokemon as well. Except for the legendary and mythical Pokemon, as they are unable to experience the wonders of baby making, or in this case, breeding. Except, of course, one little mythical Pokemon that tends to be forgotten by many: Manaphy. Manaphy is the only mythical Pokemon capable of breeding. So you do your Manaphy a favor this Valentine's Day by putting it in the daycare with the Ditto so it can get its baby making action. And hey, when you get that egg, be sure to take care of it, because it will hatch into a brand new, healthy Phione. Phione? Phione? Why Phione? Phione is an entirely different species to Manaphy. Phione may look similar to Manaphy, but it does not evolve into Manaphy. So how come Manaphy and Ditto produce a Phione? So to figure this out, we need to do a little bit more research. More specifically, we need to look at the species origins of Manaphy and Phione. We need to look at how they're obtained, and we need to look at the respective dex entries. So let's get to that. Manaphy and Phione are based off Cleone. These are tiny sea slug creatures that are very popular in Japan. This would explain why the majority of us don't know what Manaphy and Phione exactly are. As you can see, Cleone are small and transparent, allowing you to see their internal organs, and they have their wing-like extensions as well, just like Manaphy and Phione. Because of this, Cleone are sometimes referred to as sea angels, which is very fitting as Manaphy and Phione are the sea guardians. I hope they have a fun time fighting Lugia. Now, Cleone is not the name of the species, but rather the name of the genus. And there are only 2 species that fall into the genus Cleone: Cleone antarctica and Cleone limacina. These 2 species are very closely related, and as there are 2 different species, it would make sense if Manaphy was based off one of these and Phione was based off the other. Now, Cleone antarctica are found in the southern hemisphere in the polar waters of Antarctica, while Cleone limacina are found in the northern hemisphere in the cold water of the Arctic Ocean, North Pacific Ocean, and North Atlantic Ocean. One more thing to note is that the genus Cleone falls under the phylum mollusks, and the development of mollusk species heavily relies on the temperature and the environment. So as we move on to the next topic, be sure to keep all of this at the back of your head. As of right now, the only legitimate way to get Manaphy is through Pokemon Ranger. Now in Pokemon Ranger, the egg suddenly appears on the shore of the Phione region, and the professor claims that they must have been carried here by the sea currents from a distant land, so we don't really know where this egg came from. Once you transfer the egg over to your 4th gen title and hatch it, it hatches into a Manaphy. Now, following Pokemon logic, once you put a Pokemon and Ditto in the daycare, you can get an offspring that is the same species as the parent Pokemon that isn't Ditto. But in Manaphy's case, you get Phione. So what we can take from this is that the Manaphy egg was not from Phione, but it was from an unknown distant land, and that hatching any egg that comes from Manaphy in Kanto, Johto, Hoenn, Sinnoh, Unova, and Kalos will all result in you receiving a Phione. Finally, their respective dex entries. All of Phione's dex entries make the mention of one thing: warm seas. Its Diamond and Pearl dex entry even states that it lives in warm seas. As for Manaphy, it's kind of funny actually. All of its dex entries are very identical, except for its Diamond and Pearl dex entries. Born on a cold sea floor, it will swim great distances to return to its birthplace. Water makes up 80% of its body. This Pokemon is easily affected by its environment. So it's born on a cold sea floor and it's easily affected by its environment. Can you see the full picture? Can you connect the 3 pieces of evidence together? If you can't, let me help you out. So we know that Cleone antarctica and Cleone limacina are closely related, and the only thing that separates them are the different hemispheres, different environments, and different bodies of water. We know that the Manaphy egg isn't from any known region, and that whenever you hatch an egg from a Manaphy in any of the known regions, it hatches into a Phione. And finally, according to the dex entries, Phione lives in warm seas, and Manaphy comes from the cold sea floor, and that Manaphy is easily affected by its environment, and when Manaphy inhabits one of these areas, its body is affected and adapts to reproduce Phiones instead of Manaphy's, as Manaphy can only come from the cold sea floor. This makes sense as we don't really know where Manaphy came from. We can only assume through its dex entries that it came from someone with a cold sea floor. Phione is confirmed to come from a warm environment because of its dex entries, and the main regions look pretty warm to me. Yes, Cleone Antarctica and Cleone Limacina are both found in cold water, but the key here is that they're both separated by their respective locations. In the Pokemon world, there really isn't a place that has ice-cold water in the area, so when Game Freak decided to bring the Cleone over as Pokemon, it makes sense that they want at least one of them to inhabit warm seas, cause that's really the only type of sea that you can find in the Pokemon games. The Cleone, the distant land where Manaphy's from, hatching of Phione in all the main regions, Manaphy and Phione's dex entries, all of this evidence put together really does make me believe in this theory. So why do Manaphy and Ditto breed to produce Phione instead of Manaphy? Well, my answer to that question is that Manaphy's body adapts to the warmer environment, making it capable of reproducing Phione instead of Manaphy. But what do you guys think? Did you guys find this video interesting? Did you find it enjoyable? Do you agree or disagree with me? Let me know in the comments down below. If you did like the video, be sure to hero punch that like button. You know, we did miss out on one big question. How is Manaphy able to breed if it's a mythical Pokemon? Well, we may tackle that topic later, so if you want to stay tuned for that, be sure to subscribe. You know what? My voice is gone, but why don't we try tackling it right now? I'm a smart guy, we have dex entries and whatnot, let's try figuring it out, shall we? So looking at these dex entries, it's clear that Manaphy can bond with any Pokemon. And when you throw Manaphy in the daycare with Ditto for some baby making action, you come to the sad realization that Manaphy lacks the tools for baby making action. But you throw him in anyway to see what happens. And once Ditto lays eyes on Manaphy, it transforms into the bonding wonder of a Pokemon itself. And then you have two Pokemon that are able to bond with any Pokemon. The bonding of these two Pokemon are so strong that it goes beyond the levels of Mega Evolution, beyond the levels of any type of bonding we've seen in the Pokemon universe. A bond so strong that it's able to produce... Oh.